Aloha, everyone. It wasn't the warmest of welcomes back from our extended weekend by the stock market. We'll get to start off with the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ was down 0.36%. Not too bad. And unfortunately, in the final minute, we did have a nice little reversal. Um, but still, it doesn't salvage it overall. It was a poor session. The only good news, really, about it is that volume was below average on the NASDAQ and likewise on the New York Stock Exchange S&P 500. The New York Stock Exchange was down 0.45%. The S&P 500 was down 0.27%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 0.48%. Unfortunately, the biggest hit did come in the Russell 2000 today. The Russell 2000 was down 1.12%. The good news is that it's still above its 10 and 20-day moving average line, so it's really nothing to even be I don't know, be concerned about at all. However, it is weighing on our model right now. Our model's yellow flags are raising on the Russell 2000, and that's all it's doing is telling us to watch out. Because if we get another down day, we're going to probably start initiating hedges on the Russell 2000, especially based on the condition of this white line here, its relative strength line. You can see it's been lagging ever since it hit those late September highs. And as we go and look at the NASDAQ, we can also see that while the NASDAQ's hitting new highs, the relative strength line still has not hit those highs that it also saw at the end of September. So some interesting divergence there that we should continue to keep our eye on. Especially if you think that this market definitely should be rising higher. I'm not so sure. I'm agnostic as always, so I'll just take my signals as they come. And speaking of signals, we got a full sell signal on my end today from ECL. I did state that you could use this level as your final cut loss level, 104.69. I was kind of using that level as a final cut loss if it pulled back on lower volume. With the above average volume sell off today below the low a day signal and the low a day of the session before the signal to go long, along with it closing below the 10 and 20-day moving average. I'm going to go ahead and get out of ECL and just call that a failure and chalk up that 2% gain to a lesson learned. What's the lesson? None. Just didn't work. However, ICLR is also going to be a partial sell. Another heavier or above average volume closed below the 50-day moving average. And yes, it is still above the 37.32 low. However, weak close near the low of the day, another above average volume bar. I don't need to wait around. Another 25% sell. And like I said, if your sell is going to be possibly if your number comes in slightly above her, where it's not going to match up 25% sell correctly, always overshoot and sell more than you would if it was just 25%. Also, UEIC closing below the 50-day moving average on heavier volume. Yes, it is a very nice intraday reversal, and yes, technically 36.42 is above the 36.39 open, but a heavier volume close below the 50-day moving average is what it is, so we'll go ahead and just take 25% off. And CHTR, also a recent long. Remember, I said that you could use the 130.50 level or even the 126.80 level as your final cut loss, or the 50-day moving average. With the close below the 50-day moving average today, especially after it had a week that it should have gone, especially after this huge volume, strong day. It should have moved by now. The fact that it hasn't makes me want to get out of half of it. So I'll get a half out of CHTR, 25% out of ICLR, 25% out of UEIC, and 100% out of ECL. Only one new long tonight, and the problem with this long is that it's up too much in one day. So I'm going to set two different limits. My first limit is going to be near the lower end of this intraday bar range, right around the 28 area. And the other limit is going to be near the upper end of this bar range, right around 30. And 30 coincides with the open of 1122, which is where I want to go. And the 28 level also coincides with the close over here around 1120, the 2764. So I'm kind of using those two bars right there to judge how I'm going to get long go. So limit orders only, 1% at one level, 1% at the other level, and that's all for tonight. Have a great rest of your Monday, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Aloha.